Hello, and welcome to the About Healing podcast, a show created for those on or awakening into their spiritual journeys, and who are ready, wanting, and learning how to heal themselves. I am your host, About Healing medium and certified spiritual healer, Sheree Buckman. It is my purpose to guide others to the path of self-healing and to inspire those on their spiritual journeys in finding their truths. Join me as I share my experience and unfiltered perspective in healing, as well as the incredible wisdom of the loving energy that guides us. Let's begin. Hello and welcome back, everyone, to another episode of About Healing podcast. I'm trying to find the right word to describe what I'm feeling right now. I don't know. I guess I'm ready. I feel good about this. I'm excited. I am really wanting and have been wanting to talk about this subject today, which is boundaries. And I knew while creating this season, like back when I was creating this season, that this topic would be one of the most important subjects that we would talk about. Honestly, it is quite possible that this topic, boundaries, was the reason, if not at least the top reason, why I had created the season. I strongly feel that there are so many out there seeking guidance on this topic. And while there's a strong feeling, it's also more than that, because this has come up over and over and over again for several months, or even honestly, at least the past year or more. However, knowing the importance of this topic, I couldn't just simply begin the season with boundaries, because in order to begin to explain and then fully comprehend how to implement healthy boundaries, personal, healthy boundaries, we had to understand the former topics. We had to go into it. We had to know where we were and what we were dealing with before we can get to this point. Because boundaries are more about maintaining your energy than taking it back. Now, with that being said, yes, by creating them, you are taking back your power, the ones that, that energy you've given other places. But this is more about how you clog the drain or plug it so that you are not losing yourself and losing that energy, and that you can take it back to take care of you. So with this topic being so big, it is broken up into two parts. So you will have 2 weeks of understanding this. So for this week, we are talking about what boundaries are. Before we learn how to build boundaries and maintain them, we must first understand, one, what they are, and two, why are they important? So we're going back to basics in it. And let's start there. Let's talk about what boundaries are. Boundaries are the rules and the limits we set for ourselves. It is an act of speaking and acting for what you need and what you want, or don't want or need. They are a way to create a peaceful and balanced way to work and interact with others and life in general. The other reason why we haven't brought up boundaries until now, till we're coming near the end of our season, is because boundaries are not required for survival. And until you have done the work of what we've talked about this season, and that you're going through that awakening and you're taking that accountability and that responsibility, you're learning your truths, removing false beliefs, you are becoming aware of who you are or what you want. Because before that, you were in survival mode, and boundaries are not a part of that. Because boundaries is almost like, it's strange to put it this way, it's like a luxury item. This is something that you choose to give yourself when you decide to change out of survival and into thriving. Because whether you have had trouble with boundaries or maybe not at all, you've made it this far in your life. So they are not absolutely necessary to live. However, if you are in a place to do something different for yourself and to change and get out of survival mode and then go into thriving in your life, then boundaries are necessary to create that peace, to begin thriving in your life. And the truth is that if boundaries are easy, everyone would be doing it and it wouldn't be so hard and we wouldn't be questioning it or knowing that we need it, but not knowing how to start. Because it starts with your responsibility. Boundaries are your responsibility. No one else is going to create them or defend them for you. That is your job only. It is the shift of understanding and taking responsibility for your own actions and your own emotions while not taking on other people's responsibilities and emotions, because you're not responsible for other people. We are responsible for our own. And we really have to understand this before we can get into the part of actually creating them and maintaining them. You have to take that responsibility and accountability for yourself. The things that you have been wishing for people to treat you a certain way, or wishing and wanting respect, or wanting change, and whatever part of your life, it doesn't happen overnight. It starts with you. You have to do it. That's hard. And we're going to get more into that in a minute. I'm going to break that down even more. But boundaries are also a form of self-care. That is what it is. So I told you that boundaries are like this luxury item. You don't have to have it, but having it is beautiful and wonderful, and it's extravagant. And while I say it's extravagant and luxurious, but it's also not that. It is something that it's actually also basic at the same time. It's primal and it is deserving, meaning you do deserve it. Everybody does. No one is excluded in this. But this self-care that I'm talking about, these boundaries, this self-care, this is what keeps your energy within you so that you have the energy to live your life, to do the things that you want, to be in places, go to places, be around people, meet people, creating and manifesting the beautiful things that you do deserve and that you're worthy of. You get to choose what, when, and how much to give others. Period. There is no one else that can force you to do this. Now, before we start identifying where we need boundaries or where to put them or anything else, it is important to understand that there, at least for the purpose of this episode and for what I am guiding and teaching, that there are two types of boundaries. The first being the boundaries for self. We are not excluded in creating limits for ourselves. These are the limits you create to sustain your own energy to keep you from stress and burnout. So it is about where are you choosing to put your energy. The other type are the boundaries for others. These are the limits you create to keep your energy from going to others, being taken away. It's about how much you're willing to give away. So now let's bring the focus into where you need boundaries. Now that we're having a better understanding of what boundaries are, where do we need them? Some of you may already know where you need your boundaries immediately. Just thinking boundaries are like, oh, I know where I need them, or I know who I need them for. Because you may, and you have to think about it, are there certain people in your life that drain you, or that you know that you need to put more boundaries up there for to protect yourself, to maintain your energy? Are there those that you have a difficult time saying no to? And this doesn't have to be big confrontational people or situations. This could even be your children, your partner, a parent, family, friend, etc. Someone that knows that it's easy to come at you or to ask for certain things because you do have a hard time saying no because you don't have the boundaries. Or whether that's happening, whether it be associated to guilt or avoidance or whatever you're feeling in it, this is still that place. Or do you know or have those people that just know how to push your buttons? They know how to push them. That's probably another place you need to think about of where to put a boundary. I want you to think about all the areas of your life. Workplace, social, like your social groups or friends, about family and your home life, societal, so on and so forth. You need to think about all of these pieces about where to put your boundaries. And here's where to put the focus on. This is what I want you to focus on. These are the big pieces of knowing where you need boundaries. It is looking at your anxiety and stress, because this is your alarm system telling you where you need to make adjustments in your life. Stress, these stresses, when you feel stressed, it means you're taking on too much and draining your energy without enough recovery. You're doing a lot, and you're doing a lot. Now, obviously, there are some times in life where we go through these moments and that happens. However, is this something that is happening constantly? Do you find yourself stressed out a lot and all the time? And this is where the type of boundary you need to use is a boundary for yourself. Boundary of self. What can you take off your plate that is not a priority? Are you doing too much? Or what can you give away to others? So for me, this is a really big one. This is a really big one for me. I do this to myself all the time. I stress myself out. I've told you guys I'm a list person. I like to make them and I like to cross them off. But I like to do them first. And sometimes when I write these, even though these are kind of tasks that truly are not important, I will make myself stressed out trying to get it done. And I do not have enough energy in the day or enough time in the day. And I'm trying to do it all myself because I want to do it my way or have it done a certain way. And I just don't. There's not. And I'm draining my energy over something that shouldn't or doesn't need to, taken away from the places where I really do want to put my energy. The truth really deep down, and the reason why this happens, this is the honesty time. There is a part of me that feels that my self-worth is or was, because I am working on it, but it still partially is, defined by my output. That if I'm not doing anything, and if I'm not producing enough, then I'm not worthy of my relaxation time, or I'm not worthy of attention, love, etc., etc. And this is something I picked up in childhood. This was a false belief, and I had to learn the new truth. And this is still something that I work through. So the point of me also bringing up this example and going that deep, because you also need to understand where this is coming from. Why are these wants and needs coming up where you feel like you have to stress yourself out or make these things that are truly not important in the whole scheme of things a priority? And for me, again, I had to break it down to that false belief. I had to adapt to a new belief to start understanding and knowing that I am worth putting a boundary and moving this on, that I can give things away and that I can create more peace for myself in creating these boundaries. Stay tuned for next week when you hear more about what I did and how I did it to create those boundaries. Sorry, this episode is just about understanding why. And then also look at your anxieties. Your anxieties. Again, that's that other alarm system. That is a natural alarm system. That one is telling you that you are feeling out of control, that you are giving or you are perceiving to give your power away. These are mostly created by expectations. Well, this is one thing that it could be created by. It could be created by expectations, ones that you've created for yourself or ones for others. For example, you could be feeling anxiety over, like if I were to give that example about me and how I felt that my self-worth was defined by my output, where I could feel an anxiety or a trigger for me when someone would even be teasingly saying, "Oh, taking a break, relaxing, I see," or something along those lines. It would trigger me to, oh my gosh, they don't think that I do enough, or that maybe I don't deserve a break right now and I'm not worthy of it. So right there, I'm starting to perceive, and these are my own expectations. This is probably not even something that was the thought base or the energy that someone's putting into it, but this has created my anxiety for it. But it can also be created by avoidance, by facing truths that we don't want to face, or avoidance of confrontation. And I know that's a big one. I know that's a big one for me. That was one big thing of why I had a lot of anxieties too, especially with certain people, because I don't like confrontation. And so I wouldn't change anything and I would avoid certain things because I would walk on eggshells just to keep the peace. Oh, but man, isn't that just a key phrase right there? To keep the peace, not my peace. That was not my peace. I definitely wasn't feeling peace. I held on to all that anxiety and all that stuff just so everybody else felt a little bit more peaceful or we didn't rock the boat. It'd also be created by not wanting to do the work, or maybe doing the work. The thought of doing the work sounds like a lot, because that means taking responsibility, managing your own energy, or giving other people's energy back. And that's a lot of work. Because again, once you are facing this, you're taking responsibility, or even facing those truths and everything else, you got to go backwards and do a lot of the work that we've talked about this season. And that again is bringing up old traumas, is bringing up all these other things. And this is work. Boundaries. This is work, because you have to build them and you have to maintain them. That's a lot. And underneath it all, there is a basis of fear. It is this whole clump of it. It's the fear of change. It's the fear of the unknown. It is the fear of being seen. Building boundaries, or saying something that I don't want, or telling somebody about what I do want, means being seen. It means putting yourself out there. It means possibly being judged. It means responsibility, failure, worthiness, and actually putting yourself first. And that's a fear too, especially for my empaths out there. Anxieties requires boundary for others. This is the type of boundary you would use. And this is where you're going to start asking yourself, what do others take that you do not like to give? What is it that triggers it? What are they asking for that triggers it? You've got to follow that line, and you've got to dissect it, and you've got to figure it out. Because how do you know what you want or what you're willing to give if you don't know what it is? So really pay attention to when your anxiety levels rise. Because if you make the intention of wanting to find it, really start listening to your body when you have an anxiety rising. What just happened to make it rise? What is happening around you? Why are you reacting to it? Because you need to remember this too, that your anxieties or the boundaries or what other people are taking, this is not always the fault of the other person, unless someone is forcefully doing it against your will, because you're the one who has always made it seem like it was okay. Either you've never said otherwise, you've never said no, you have just allowed this to happen, you've never voiced your opinion, because you are the source of your own energy, which means you allowed it to leak and you gave it. So when you feel like you don't have control, take a deep breath and remember that you have all the control in the world. This requires a boundary. And then ask, what do you give others that is expected that you don't like giving? So again, think about some of the people in your life, maybe family, children, or whatever it is. They're just really used to getting it. They're really used to getting it. You don't necessarily like it, and it causes anxiety. You need to start thinking about that. What is doing that? Where do you give too much of your energy that leaves you feeling drained? Or honestly, what person drains you? And you just walk into a room and there's a certain person there, and then all of a sudden you just feel like your life sucked out. Just having a small conversation with them, because they're just unloading on you, and they're telling you, maybe just an example, because totally has happened to me. They just unload on you and they tell you everything and every problem they have, and they give it to you and they look at you like, okay, fix it. Because I have allowed that before, because I knew that I could. I knew that I had insight. But in not every minute of every day am I okay to do that. And that sometimes my time is my time, and you're allowed to have that too. And you're allowed to put barriers and understand where are those people that you need to put a boundary with, and think about this. Is there a person who calls you, and the moment you see their name on the caller ID, it just, you feel it. You're like, oh, you feel that instant anxiety. It's like, oh, what do they need now? What happened now? Boom. Another boundary that needs to be built. So the point of this episode was to bring you to a place of awareness. It is just about beginning to understand and see maybe these new perspectives of what boundaries are and where they need to be implemented. Please know and please understand that you are worthy of creating peace for yourself. Release this responsibility of creating peace for everyone else around you, and do it for you. It's time to make yourself the priority. It's time to stop surviving and treading the waters of your life, of barely taking breaths, of turning the tables, that when people ask you how you're doing and you just say surviving, okay, and now you can turn it to thriving and telling people, I am truly doing amazing. And that happens by taking that responsibility for yourself and creating this beautiful piece. And yes, it requires work, but I'm going to help you get there. And you're going to do this when you're ready. So to get you and to prepare you for next week, when I am going to help and guide you through into actually creating these boundaries and building them, I would like you to take your journal. Yes, your journal. If you don't have one, I have some beautiful journals for sale in the About Healing shop. Or simply just write on a piece of paper, and that's fine too. You can sticky note this. You can do whatever you need to. You do not have to have anything fancy to write this down. But I do want you to start thinking about and writing down where you are lacking and needing boundaries. Start focusing and looking at those stresses. Look at those anxieties. Look at the people, the situations, all these avenues of your life. And also ask yourself, what is important for your self-care? Anything. I'm going to write it. There is zero wrong answers here. There is nothing. Because the answers to all of this and creating this is very personal. And this is individual to everybody. And then I want you to bring these into next week as I help you build and create these for you. So until then, beautiful souls, be kind to yourself. With so much love and gratitude, I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode. My hope today is that the message continues to guide you along your path to healing. To learn more about me and my purposeful work, visit my website at abouthealingmedium.com. You can also follow About Healing Medium on Facebook and Instagram, where you can find the episode's healing guidance, quotes, tips, insights, and chances to win free stuff. To ask a question or to share comments, email me at abouthealingpodcast@gmail.com, or feel free to reach me on Facebook and Instagram at About Healing Medium. Until next time, be kind to yourself.